So let me ask you just to begin with, how did you first become involved with Russia or Russia-related activities?
It goes back to my university training. I trained as a global political economist at a university that didn't have such a program. I found a way to combine history, political science, and economics with an international focus. I
And what
designed
university?
San Diego State.
Yeah, and what years?
Oh gosh, 82 through 85.
Okay.
I transferred down from San Jose State. I went from being a meteorology major to kind of quasi-political science business, and decided to chart my own path to be an investment banker, which I thought was a global political economy, to be able to work across silos, because political science didn't talk with the econ guys just on the next floor upstairs, and this econ guys didn't talk with poli sci, and it was really kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Bad joke. So I decided that in order, to be, effective, to be educated and be effective, I needed to cross silos. So I did that, and that was part at the time that the wars in Central America were going on, and San Diego, my mentor, had some big contacts there, and there was a Soviet political systems old guard professor who I enjoyed his work, and I've been in the thread of really since the 70s of being aware of geopolitics and learning about the world and the Soviet Union, and then it picked up. I got in with. I thought the world of the environmental movement was going to be an opportunity for me to work with. That turned out to be a huge disappointment. So just as kind of the moment, the wall in the east began to shudder or dissipate, with the Polish Roundtable.
Yeah.
Summer '88. I joined with a group called Science Solutions here in San Diego in 1990. They asked me to come on board and be their director of development, and the purpose of that company was to bring high technology processes and products out from the Soviet Union to the West, particularly the United States.
Wow. And this was what year?
1990.
And who founded that company?
James Barr.
James Barr.
Yeah, Baur. He's still alive. In fact, there's gonna be a reunion of Science Solutions in September here in San Diego. If you're looking for business people to interview, he's going to have some perspectives.
Right. If he would give me an interview, that would be very interesting, because obviously he has a story about, first of all, how he had those connections in the Soviet Union, and then how to bring out, intellectual property from the Soviet Union is an interesting story.
Well, it was quite a ride of exploration and discovery. Jim's roots are out of General Atomics here in San Diego, which is he came out of the nuclear engineering program, the physics guy, and knew scientists in the Soviet Union, in the world of physics and nuclear sciences, and the space program. General Atomics, in addition to doing nuclear stuff, more commonly today is known for drones and things of that. So aerospace is it's a defense nuclear engineering company. So he came out of that and knew people, real scientist guys. Got some great contacts in Leningrad, St. Petersburg. But it was a long road to figure out. Academics in the United States and in the Soviet Union had negligible commercial experience or perspective. It's a real learning curve to climb.
Right.
And culturally, in the Soviet Union, there was negligible commercial experience, particularly in the Russian space.
Yeah.
Armenians and Azerbaijanis and all Central Asians had a different feel for it. But, so, anyways, it was a lot of education.
And did you speak Russian at that time?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. So it's all through translators.
Yeah, I had, so in this latter environment period, I was a known quantity at San Diego State as being an unusual guy who knew a lot of stuff. I was very creative as a student, as a non-PhD student,
Right.
So I was around the Arid Lands program, which was a Jordan, Egypt, United States effort to was Israel, Jordan, Egypt, United States effort to collaborate around the issues of water, to find a way to work together and build trust and build connections. And I thought that was a great idea. And I thought, I tried to put together a connection between San Diego State and University in Wrocław, Poland, and then jumped over to parallel the Arid Lands program with a California Uzbekistan water management exchange project.
Wow.
And there are a lot of good people at San Diego State and in San Diego on the water issue. I could just, many of the pieces or modules were right there with the Arid Lands program. So I thought, well, the politics are flowing in the right direction now, and this was built particularly around the crisis at the Aral Sea.
Yeah.
So I spent a better part of a year trying to put that together, as I was leaving the academic world, and I did some Latin American debt stuff in looking at debt for equity swaps around the Brady bonds in the late 80s. So I did some contract work with a BA, so I mean, it's like all these PhDs were like, who are you? And it's like, you haven't drunk all the Kool-Aid yet, you don't have all the certificates. And so we're not sure whether we should treat you seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. So it turned out that the institutional resistance to this kind of effort with the Uzbeks and all, it was too steep a climb for me to do. But I got to know a lot of people, and Jim Barr with Science Solutions came to me, and we met over lunch, and I had developed. Nobody knew anything. Okay, so for the Uzbek California thing, nobody knew anything. So get to work, study, research, build a puzzle, find pieces, put them together. And so I got a bit of a reputation out of that. And Jim said, well, you straddle this academic commercial world. Why don't you come be our director of development, for a small company that's like, change toilet paper and everything else that needs to be done at that time, but help guide the group of science guys into understanding the socio-political culture, how things were evolving, where new sources of funding might be, business support programs, and customers, how to go from, how to find potential customers for these technologies. At the Leningrad Institute for optics and fine mechanics, or fine mechanics and optics. You can check me on that.
Okay.
That was a very advanced place on the planet. And the people that were there at the time ultimately created the lenses that are used in fiber optic systems all around the world. There's, there are multiple mega millionaires and a billionaire came out of that. And we ran through the resistance here of, well, the Soviets are idiots. They are communists, and nothing good commercially is going to come out of there. But the science guys knew differently. But again, we're trying to bridge between science to applied science to commercial stuff.
Right.
And on the commercial side, a lot of these companies had defense business as part of their order book, if you will.
Right.
That's part of their business. And most of them were scared to talk with us because they didn't want to bring any complications to their existing business. So they were like, this is interesting, very intriguing, but
yeah.
So,
so did you play a role in bringing those lenses and those guys into market?
No.
Okay.
We got close. That it's in business. I don't know. Luck matters a lot.
Yeah.
I could, I hear all the stories about, I'm God's gift, and I've got it. Luck plays a huge role, and there were other people around. And ultimately, for the most part, the Russians, they just found their way, by the force of circumstances, and that's part of why they're kind of tough right now.
Yeah.
So
Science Solutions. Yeah. Did you have any successes out of Science Solutions?
There were some. Jim would be able to tell you a whole lot more about that. We came at my involvement, once I really understood what was going on, and we hosted some delegations here. I mean, what is success? I mean, we put together some fascinating relationships out of the connecting between the U.S. and the Russian space program. Roald Agayev and Susie Eisenhower, and there was a marriage there. One of the Eisenhower ladies, and so but this was at the time of Glasnost turning into perestroika, and the deeper perestroika. So there was an underlying crisis in the Soviet Union, anyways, that's completely not understood here in the West. I don't think the Russians have a good handle on it either. But there was a crisis. The mirror, kind of weird mirror of inflation in an economy, was goods disappeared. They did. The common thing is to call them, well, they're damn communists and they couldn't make anything anyways. But there was more going on than that. So things were fraying pretty seriously, and the guys and they were mostly guys, there were a few women, were increasingly scrambling. And their time horizons were getting narrower and narrower and narrower, shorter and shorter. Can we do a deal? Some sort of, a container of this, or some computers of that.
Yeah.
And what really kind of ended things for me at Science Solutions, and I'm condensing things here.
Yeah.
The coup and the Soviet coup in August of 1991 changed everything. that was the end of the Union. And it was the end of all of these union structures that we had been dealing with, all these Soviet Union level scientific institutes and relationship structures, whatever funding that was part of it, but it was mostly the institutional connections. They were, well, I tried to explain, is that they're there, but they're not there, and they're going to go away, and it's going to be in months. And all these groups that we've been working with are going to go. And I was told to stick to my reports, So it's like, okay, I got it,
Yeah. And how did you know that?
I just knew. My background is this more on the socio-politics of it. That's when the wall to the east, with the thing with Poland, that opened the door, and I could feel it. No, very few could.
Yeah.
It just.
Well, how would you, to go back to what you said about the underlying crisis, how would you describe that underlying crisis? What was it?
Well, it's firstly and foremost an economic crisis in a non-market system where, up until the 1960s, the Soviet Union was in this communist era, was about industrialization, electrification, workers, the proletariat. It wasn't about oil or gas. Natural resources were wood. You can make paper, or there was Baku and everything, but it wasn't until the discovery of the supergiant fields in West Siberia that the Soviet Union changed in a really important way. And one of these days somebody will dig into it. And I think it changed very importantly the internal structure, the drivers, economic drivers, because the resources that were competitive in the system, suddenly energy became dirt cheap. And the focus of the economy moved more toward the development of this new energy. The Soviets got into exporting a fair amount of oil, 3 million barrels a day, I think, somewhere in the mid 80s. But it was mostly a domestic thing. And it was, I wonder if it was a version of Dutch disease. I was explored with the Dutch and the Groningen gas field, and the impact that had on the Dutch economy and the value of the guilder, and how it suddenly made Dutch manufacturing uncompetitive in Western Europe, which was like, what? Something's really weird here. But then the Europeans went to the European Union, and things changed. The rise of oil and then gas changed the character of the Soviet economy, I think, in important ways. And
it's a great insight. No, seriously, it's a great insight, and one that I have, and I can't claim to have read, everything written on it, but I have not encountered that before. So I think that is something for some future, PhD researchers to go into. So,
in Russia's best years in the post-Soviet time, as Russia was reinventing itself, regathering itself together, was when oil prices, 1998, 99, 2000, oil prices were in the tank. So Russian oil production was beginning to recover, but oil prices were seriously in the tank.
It was like down to 15, 16, even less.
Yeah. And the ruble was garbage. And that was when Russian manufacturing took off. Suddenly, there was demand. Okay,
Uh-huh.
Enough to drive, suddenly competitive human and material resources manufacturing, which is
Right. Right.
machines and people.
Right.
So, anyways,
Yeah. So
yeah,
back
yeah.
you left Science Solutions.
I left Science Solutions at basically September 10th, 1991, when
Uh-huh.
we participated in a trade show that was part of the signing of the San Diego Vladivostok Sister City Agreement.
Which was when? 1991 then?
September 10, 1991.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You
And there was
signed that agreement
yep,
and then left the company.
right. There was a delegation in town,
Yeah.
big, serious guys. These weren't clowns. These were the cream of the crop out of naval, maritime engineering,
Yeah.
the best guys, and there were some very good ones. Some forward. Vladivostok is unlike any other city in Russia that I've ever visited.
Right.
Odessa is a whiff of something like it.
I was in Vladivostok in June of 1990.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was there. I had. I don't want to digress too much, but um, I did a mid-career change and got a master's degree at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and the Fletcher School held a North Pacific seminar in Vladivostok,
Wow.
and we flew to Moscow and picked up people, and then went to Vladivostok for this seminar when the city was officially still closed, I think.
Yeah.
So I saw it then. Very interesting experience. But so who initiated the sister city?
It comes from the arts people here in San Diego. James Hubble, who is an acclaimed sculptor artist.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there's a well, yeah, you ask a really good question here, actually, and I can't answer it the way I'd like to. There were some arts university connections, just a few people. How they knew each other, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's these early days of it was in the arts and culture. We had I think I know where it came from. There was a Soviet arts festival here in San Diego in 1988.
Wow.
The mayor got behind it. It was a big deal,
Uh-huh.
very successful, and people from all over the Soviet Union came here with um, acting, poets, art, painting, all kinds, sculpture, and I think that out of that,
Uh-huh.
people got to know each other. Just a few connections, and then there was a Soviet Navy visit here in 1989, which kind of juiced that.
Wow. Yeah.
Because the Soviet Navy ships are carrying boxes of art as captain's cargo, basically, and which is a cool thing in the world of maritime. The captain can carry commerce that is not part of the bill of lading. It's not part of the register, and it's a way to kind of get things back and forth.
Right.
And on the Soviet side, Gorbachev's press secretary, Gennady Gerasimov, there's a legendary hot tub meeting. James Hubble and others, Gennady Gerasimov. But anyways, Gennady Gerasimov was asked what a good sister city for San Diego might be, and he said Vladivostok would be great.
Huh.
two big Navy ports.
Ah, okay. This hot tub encounter wouldn't have been through Esalen, was it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Uh, it's an interesting idea,
Yeah.
and I don't. This predates uh, my active involvement. These early historical days, as we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of the program.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's.
But I can actually check that because I know the director of the Esalen program, but
Okay.
it would have been an interesting, you know, thread to pull here. But and it doesn't matter. But there were a mutual interest on each side in putting a sister city together that wasn't particularly commercial. It
Not at
was
all. Not at
not
all.
commercial,
Yeah,
right?
this is like, how do we get beyond the Cold War? We're
Yeah,
ending the Cold War, and how do we build bridges? And in fact, the first big project of the Sister City program was a space bridge. It was a live two-way satellite telecast between a theater audience here in San Diego out at SeaWorld
right.
and at the Gorky Theater in Vladivostok. I mean, there were
Do you know when that
thousands.
was?
January 22nd, 1992.
January 22nd, 1992.
Yeah,
Okay.
22nd, 23rd. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Okay, because there's a no whole history of space bridges, sort
right.
of, beginning actually with the US Festival and Steve Wozniak in the early 80s, and then later morphing into increasing numbers of these, through people who formed Internews. But so this is another, piece to the puzzle.
There was a guy named Golden, Russian,
Joseph Golden.
Joseph Golden. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whoa.
He was the guru that kind of made it happen. I mean, if it wasn't for this Russian-speaking operator in Pittsburgh, nothing would have happened. But Golden was the guru that imagined it, and it was his force of imagination and force of personality that pulled it together.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so this was the first activity of Sister City, was this theater exchange.
Well, it was two audiences.
Okay.
There were maybe uh, 2,000, 1,000 people at SeaWorld, and the theater at SeaWorld was full.
Yeah.
The theater at Gorky in Vladivostok in the middle of the night was full.
Uh-huh.
And it was the opportunity. We were looking at each other through like this,
Right. Right.
only with a cast of thousands. And
Yeah.
it was such an amazing thing. Everybody was in awe of the moment to do this without any intermediation. There was nobody.
Uh-huh.
It was people to people on beyond imagination.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was an electric time. It's hard to describe the energy. I mean, I get chills thinking about it. So that was the first big effort, and then there was the next big project was in May, which was a plane load of 177 whoever could get on the plane in Vladivostok, and 55 members of the Russian Pacific Fleet Song and Dance Ensemble. They kind of provided the artistic and I don't know. It was a splash.
Yeah.
But it was mostly geared toward business.
Okay.
And
where did this take place? In San Diego?
In San Diego.
Okay,
This was
great.
Multiple days. We home hosted people, but my assignment was to help find partners. We're looking to have tables of people and rooms of people with shared interest, and trying to facilitate some discussion, where do you start? Well,
Right.
it helps if you have something to talk about
Right.
and go from there, so it was,
And there was business matching was sort of part of this.
absolutely, that was the key.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
centerpiece of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we'd moved beyond the Soviet Union had broken up, the
Right.
Cold War was over, the military stuff rapidly moved to the side and disappeared. And it became all commercial, all about making a buck.
Yeah.
Mostly a quick buck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And between the space bridge and the plane load of 177, space bridge being in January and the plane coming in on April 30th, 1992, I had met a Russian guy at a party to celebrate the space bridge. This is a party in northern Baja, across the border in Mexico here. This guy standing out, looking out over the sunset, looking in the Pacific, and I'm like, that's a Russian. I'm going to talk to him. And it's a guy my age, and at the time I'm 30.
Yeah.
And we got to talking, and he was a representative, turns out he was a representative of the commercial wing of Fesco Shipping Company. Had been spun off into a group called Akfes.
Okay.
And he was part of that commercial group. And they were really the biggest private commercial group in the Russian Far East at the time. And we hit it off. And we spent a month going all over San Diego, talking to everybody that we wanted to. Every door was open, political, business, but focusing on business. How do this is opportunity. It's not about getting rich at this point. It's we can do something. We can build a career. We can build something. And it was so exciting. It was so, and through Pavel Morozov, we formed.
That's the name of this guy. That you
yes.
Know. Yeah. Pavel Morozov. Yeah.
Pavel Morozov. We formed a small, formed a California company with another local entrepreneur, called it Russian Pacific Services, and ran with it. And that was the vehicle that took me to Vladivostok in June of 1992.
Okay, representing your company.
Yep.
Yeah, and you moved there to live or to travel back and forth, or what was that relationship?
So I went for a 2 to 3 week visit to see the city and explore what was possible.
Yeah, and this was your first visit to Russia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And wow, a lot of details here I'll leave aside, but to stick to the commerce stuff.
Right.
So I went for 2 to 3 weeks. They provided me an interpreter and a car with a driver. But between Pavel had come down with a heart condition, a serious one. And he suddenly was out of the game.
Yeah.
And the other guys at Akfes, the management, senior people at Akfes, were like, yeah, we get Australia, we get New Zealand, but we haven't figured out what use the Americans are commercially.
Right.
So they were very hard-nosed, really commercial. And I like that. They were focused, very focused on what was going to work, not talk, not MOUs or anything like that. It's like, we want to move containers, and we want to make money. We want to do it profitably. Okay,
yeah.
That's why we're here. That's why you're here. But I ended up.
So in order to do that, you had to have demand in the U.S. for goods or products from Russia that would come through the port of San Diego, or you needed goods that were required in Russia that would be shipped the other way, maybe by FESCO, through the port of San Diego, correct? That's what you were looking for?
I had moved well beyond that at that point. I
Okay.
knew very early, San Diego has a modest commercial port. It's a military port. It's a Navy port with a
Uh-huh.
bit of commerce bolted on. We have a port district here. Their big business is real estate and tourism, and it's big.
Yeah.
They have built some commercial stuff, but even at the time, it was pretty minimal. And when it comes to international trade, it's logistics, 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 and where do the ships go? Markets are important, but if the ship don't go there, you better find a
Right.
truck or whatever.
Right.
It's
Right.
so really pretty quickly. The big West Coast ports, LA, Long Beach, Oakland, Seattle, Tacoma,
Uh-huh.
and Fesco had an office in Seattle.
Uh-huh. Right.
And ultimately, the Russians had a consulate in Seattle very quickly, actually. And the commercial connections developed very, very quickly with the Pacific Northwest, particularly Seattle as a transit port for mostly consumer goods. The And I went to Vlad to learn about the market.
Uh-huh.
We weren't looking to bring anything out; everything was going in.
Okay.
And that's really always been the challenge for trade between the United States and Russia, is that there's not much that's going to come this way. It's just the structure of the economy. I mean, what's coming now is you're in Boston.
Yeah.
Fuel oil, diesel.
Uh-huh.
Almost
Yeah.
1 million barrels a day is coming into the Northeast out of Russia.
Wow. Yeah.
Russia is now the second largest hydrocarbon supplier to the United States after Canada.
Really?
This has
Yeah.
all popped in the last 3 or 4 years with closure of refineries around Philadelphia and closure of refineries in the Caribbean and the Venezuelan thing. And
Yeah.
so anyways, I went to see what might work.
Uh-huh.
What did people want? And what was available that we might bring out. I mean, we knew something about some of it's a Navy town. I mean, what are we going to?
Yeah. Right.
But we also knew that there was some good science there.
Uh-huh.
The only way to find out what we might do is go. I
Right.
mean, talk is so cheap. So I got on a plane and went, and I ultimately got a relationship, fell in love with my interpreter, and
Okay.
but it was not an instant thing. It took a while.
Right.
It's a long story behind that. But very quickly it became clear that OCFES, that there wasn't anything that we could do. I mean, we ended up shipping some used cars, police cars actually,
Uh-huh.
out of Seattle, Tacoma to Vladivostok.
Right.
But their focus was New Zealand and Australia, Singapore, a little bit of
Uh-huh.
Vietnam, but we just couldn't find anything to make it work.
Yeah.
The Apple guys in the Pacific Northwest they made a go of it. But price, it just couldn't get U.S. prices competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the logistics, it just didn't pencil out. I mean, I was bringing ultimately most of the cargo I brought in came out of Western Europe.
Uh-huh.
So anyways, it was Russian Pacific Services transitioned basically within a couple weeks where I joined an entity that I learned about during the space bridge. There was an American guy that stood up in the audience and waved to his sister in San Diego.
Okay.
Paul Cutter waving to his sister Olga Cutter here in San Diego, and I carried some stuff over on the trip, and ultimately Paul Cutter and company at Siberian Capital Investment invited me to join their company, and I did.
Okay.
A fascinating opportunity. We came so close to the biggest of the big time, but it was too soon. You know, we had a who's who of Russian shareholders, a who's who of Siberian companies, but nobody took time to actually collect the. I mean, you're going to buy shares in a company, you put money up.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody bothered to collect that money, which made the finances inside the company kind of a problem. We had good people. We had a finance guy, a British finance guy that had come up out of Hong Kong that spoke fluent Russian, and we had good connections. Paul Cutter turned out to be dishonest, which didn't help. Talked a great game. We had good young Russian staff that wanted to learn. The older guys, the director level guys, didn't understand commerce and thought that you just give an order. It's just pick up a phone, you give an order, and it'll happen.
Right.
Just never got it.
And so this was a private equity company.
It was more on the model of a Japanese trading company. I mean, it was going to be a early private equity.
Yeah. Before
anybody knew what private equity was. It was a term that didn't exist. And really what the purpose of Siberian Capital Investment was to be an investment bank that brokered projects and companies to investors abroad, develop opportunities. I mean, I had already, in preparation to go, I'd read everything there was in English on the Russian Far East. I mean, I cleaned out the libraries here in San Diego, and I had a pretty good handle of what the resource opportunities were. Who was some of the manufacturing. We're in the front door to Asia. There's Japan, there's Korea. It was before China. Yeah. It was Japan and Korea, and we're right next to a port, and the rail works. We could do things. We need investment capital, and we need also business structures. We need partners. Organizations as partners, not just hot guys. So somebody needed to make that happen, and that's what we thought we were going to do. Yeah, we had the skill set to do it, but it was the most amazing 2 months of my life. Really, really an incredible time. 2 months. Yeah. And it blew up. Like time was 2 months seemed like years. Oh, totally. I mean, it comes back to the money thing. I mean, they didn't get the money out of the shareholders, and without it, I mean, I was working for rubles at the time. With the promise of a hard currency contract. It's like, I'm not going to let the paperwork get in the way of an opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, you can go to Hollywood and you're not going to find this script.
Right.
So, but it was every day it was all condensed. I mean, it was so intense. I mean, the Russians, the older guys, they, come into work at 9 o'clock, and it's like, dude, it's like, I want to be there at 7 because North America, we can still catch people, and
Right.
in the Western Hemisphere, we can still catch people, before they go to bed. Oh, it was crazy, and we were dealing with Moscow yesterday. We were talking with people in morning tea to find out what happened yesterday in Moscow, which is the weirdest thing.
Right.
Driving driving the car backwards, looking in the rearview mirror. It's just, but it was one thing after another. I mean, the groups of people that we, Serbian construction engineer, on a box of plum brandy out on a yacht. Hey, I mean,
Yeah.
what can go right with that? It's just it was an amazing stuff. But focus on the business here.
Right.
It very quickly, it was sink or swim. It was survival. We need capital. We need money to pay our staff to live.
Yeah.
Not to go to Geneva to live. So very quickly it came down to trade and in hyperinflation now.
Yeah.
Inflation running 25-50% a month in July of '92. It wasn't, financial calculations were kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Back of an envelope was the best you could do,
Right.
and it was easy to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And very quickly the company had no money. So there was a night of the long knives. They they tried to fire me. They fired a lot of people.
Right. They being the board or the manager?
The Russian director and Paul Cutter, and
Right.
by this time we knew that Paul was lying. I mean, we had the hard evidence of it. But the Russians, they loved his look.
Yeah.
His bearing.
Yeah.
And they loved the way he talked. Kind of a he had Serbian background in his family, so I mean he knew, just it was natural, and his language, his body language, his way, his manner.
Right.
Soviet guys loved him. But he was full of crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they tried to chuck me out the door, and I said, okay, this is the way you want to play it. I ended up suing Siberian Capital Investment in a Russian court for lost wages, a handful of rubles, it's all about principle, it's like, okay, welcome to the NFL, guys. If you're going to do this to me, this is, I just have to do this.
Yeah.
So I won the case. I don't know, you probably don't want to put this in the book, actually, but I won the first case of a breach of employment contract in Primorsky Krai courts. So I got like $60 in rubles, which was like, I mean, we went down to the corner and bought groceries for the next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to see the look.
And by the way, you were in Vladivostok while all this was going on.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I went for 2 to 3 weeks. I stayed for 4 months.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they told me I had to leave. They wouldn't extend my visa, but I'd run out of clothes anyways. So the weather was changing. I needed to leave. So I came back and then went back in January of '93.
In what capacity?
As vice president of California Trading and Industrial Corporation. This was a vehicle that So there were a lot of people that knew I was making this move.
Right.
And there was an old school trader who had made a fortune in starting in the Biafran War, but in Australia in particular. I mean, he was a skilled international trader, and for him, Russia was like opportunity. And he didn't know anybody there except me.
Okay.
And I was there, and I'd come back, and I was going to go back.
Right.
So he had a structure. You know, many companies are easy to set up. And he said, let's make this vehicle our vehicle. We'll do this. We're going to build our Russian business. And I have my network, and you have yours, and we'll work together, and I'll teach you the game.
Okay. All right.
I like it. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I went back, and it kind of just continuing on from the Russian Pacific Services idea.
Yeah.
The Siberian Capital Investment thing, we were going to make a move at the vouchers, and just ran out of road. But we could all see the opportunity out of it. But we could also see the risks that were in it, and there was some quiet discussion, after hours about where this was going to end up. And, but we're trying to, we're looking at how things will work, not why things won't work.
Yeah.
We're looking to solve problems, but the society the change is. When I got there, half the people, anybody with gray hair, and that's people in their mid-30s and on, basically. Anybody with gray hair was walking around in a complete state of shock.
Yeah.
Real shock.
Yeah.
And they'd get up the next morning and they'd still be in shock. And it went on for months until the hyperinflation just shredded everything. And the younger people were scrambling like mad to, one, work with opportunity, but two, also to survive.
Yeah.
So anyways, I jumped over to California trading, and we did there what Russian Pacific Services started to do, which was focus on the food business, and really most of the work was my partner helped out.
Your partner being the older guy.
Yeah, he, and we had, and I hired staff and Vlad, and so I mean, we had a nice thing going. It was a wholly owned subsidiary in Vladivostok. We registered it through the consulate in Seattle. That was actually on the trip of taking police cars up to Tacoma. But I had on in-country staff, and we're operating in wholesale markets for food, non-perishable foods and beverages. Most of the work was mine. I found the suppliers in Western Europe and North America. Canned meat was the big money. Cooking oil out of North America. Okay, so there's a demand for cooking oil.
Yeah.
It's significant. Okay, it's an important element of Russian life, and
sunflower oil,
any kind of cooking oil, whatever it might. Sunflower, canola, corn, and I'm communicating with all the big manufacturers in North America. I'm on the horn with the guys at Hunt Wesson. And they said, we'll talk with you, but the minimum order is 500 containers.
Right. Yeah.
Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
And have you ever developed a market once in your life? It's Russia.
Yeah.
It's 150 million people at the time, roughly. and they're wiping the mud out of their eyes. It's going to
Yeah.
start small, and this is
Yeah.
how you do it. It was the finding, and in Europe, it was totally the opposite. They were like, you can buy, you can do container shiploads. Fantastic. Let's start here, and we'll
Yeah.
build it. What kind of work do you need on packaging? So we designed packaging.
Uh-huh.
Out of North America, it was we have one color, black. It's like,
Yeah.
this, and it was during this time I really began to understand, that we kind of believed our own mythology about our commercial success, and
Uh-huh.
it was already 100 years old. It
Right.
was before the First World War. I
Yeah.
mean, it was 2 generations old, and it was all momentum.
Uh-huh.
And I'm being harsh here, but certainly in the world of consumer products, I couldn't believe what I found.
Yeah.
Finding good partners here was very difficult. But in Russia, finding stable partners, people that could be around for, you would they would place an order for a shipment, and the
Yeah.
shipment would arrive, and they would sell it, but then they would disappear. They would be gone.
Right. And so were you I'm really in the weeds here, but were
Yep.
you
Sorry.
selling for hard currency and prepayment, or
Yeah.
was it hard currency and payment upon sale?
Prepayment to start.
Prepayment.
Yeah.
Okay. And you found people who were able to
Yeah.
do that, but then once they took delivery and they sold the product, sometimes they wouldn't be around for a second order or a third order.
Yeah. Companies would make mistakes. There was infighting. There's just zero stability. Very few companies.
And you found these clients, these customers in Vladivostok through your staff, or were you there then? Were you?
Oh, I was there. I would come in for. I was doing rotations, so 3 months in, 3 months out.
Right.
I discovered email in Vladivostok in August 1992.
Okay.
In Russia, not here. In Russia.
In what? In an American Business Center?
No, it was first. It was a Russian Academy of Sciences guy that was trying to market MCI as a platform for email internet communications, but MCI it was very cumbersome. It was just they never went anywhere with it, and it was obvious that was going to be the case. But there was a group called SOVAM Teleport that set up off the West Coast, and we became one of their early customers.
Okay. And they ran, so their connection was through Moscow? How did that internet connection work? Do you know?
I don't know specifically, but by Vlad connected to Japan pretty fast, but it was probably still through Moscow at the time.
Yeah, yeah. So I am aware of Sobam Teleport. I interviewed Joel Schatz, who was the founder.
Cool.
Yeah. So again, pieces are falling into place. So they became your means of conducting business, because I know at that time I was part of a joint venture in 1992 and 2 and 3, and I remember the frustrations of communications and trying to send faxes and hitting the redial button for hours, literally hitting it for hours to get a fax through. So you had a real advantage if you were using email and able then to stay in touch with your staff that way, right?
Yeah, so when I was having dinner with this fish expert, I mean fish science, not fishing,
Right.
but fish science, ichthyology. He's telling me about fish dreaming and everything. The next minute he's talking to me about email and packet switching.
Uh-huh.
You mean, you fed the texts, or the faxes. We would get faxes that would look like some sort of Rorschach. It's like, what?
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the other option was telex, which
Yeah.
worked, and it worked really well on the Russian side. But we couldn't find anybody here in San Diego that used a telex machine. It was like,
Yeah.
go to the museum and take one.
Yeah.
So that email broke it open. I knew it was a game changer as soon as I got it, and we were, paid a lot of bills for Sylvan Teleport, I can tell you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a miracle.
Uh-huh.
1,200 baud,
Yeah.
but what we could do, I mean, 1,200 baud was crystal clear
Yeah.
text communication.
Yeah.
And that I could be up late at night here on the West Coast and be working with my staff in real time in Vlad.
Uh-huh.
That's the way it worked, And,
Right. And so you found either your staff or you found people, companies that had enough hard currency to purchase a container or several containers
yeah.
of food products.
So
Correct?
again, we were operating in the wholesale markets. So, and we were doing some of this with other people, but we were also working on our own account.
Uh-huh.
So we had stuff in warehouses, and we would have it product truck to Khabarovsk or Komsomolsk Namur, Komsomolsk Nikolaevsk. The goal all along was to get to Sakhalin, because I knew that the Sakhalin projects were going to come and it was going to be big, but it took
Uh-huh.
much longer than I expected. And so we ended up working the regional urban markets. And I looked to expand west, and there were Reklama magazines, kind of early business networking companies would advertise products, but really what they were doing was they were advertising their existence
Uh-huh.
and a bit of their capacity. So in their advertisement, they would try to show that they were more than a soap bubble,
Right.
that they're real, that they're reputable, and here's the phone number, a fax number, an address, and maybe some artwork. And they would talk a little bit the products that they had, or maybe what they were looking for. And based on product lines that companies were working with, I would reach out to them
Uh-huh.
and try to get something going.
And you were doing this through a translator.
Yeah. So by this point, my Russian had gotten to the point where I could grind my way through written material and understand what was being said.
Uh-huh.
But I was far from being fluent such that I could write or do business communication.
Yeah.
The margin for error was too high, so I had an interpreter or translator.
Right.
But on a lot of this early research, I was just going through the turning the pages of these newspapers. I mean, I went, what? I mean, if I was in a new town or a train station traveling through and I saw a newspaper I'd not seen before laying on the ground, I picked it up.
Yeah.
And okay, this is information. It's intelligence, man. What the hell am I going to find? Who knows? But I'm going to look through it and try to understand who wrote it and who are they communicating with, and is there something that we can work with here?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But very quickly, these specialized magazines came out, and I was able to read well enough to understand who, and I knew the geography, and we didn't do business in Moscow.
Uh-huh.
We didn't do business in St. Petersburg.
Right.
It was east of the Urals.
Okay. So Novosibirsk, Tomsk.
Yeah, those are the places. In practice, nearly everything was in the Russian Far East.
Yeah.
But I had to. I put together the logistics to bring cargo out of Western Europe or North America. Would pick stuff up, FOB, Le Havre or Charleston, and I would work out the shipping.
Okay.
Because nobody knew any of this stuff, and there were only a
Uh-huh.
handful of shipping companies that were in the game anyways, but even their staff had no idea, so I would put these things together, and the suppliers were like, how do you spell that?
Yeah.
So, that was part of the value that we were providing was it it was the logistics and the, the the products and the marketing and distribution framework in country.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. So you were a pioneer in developing those shipping routes, and that probably others then
There
followed.
were
Yeah.
there were others that were doing the same thing. All I can say is what my experience was as a
Yeah. Yeah.
business guy at the time. I mean, building puzzles from literally pieces. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not even sure that it was working from the same. It might have been several boxes of puzzles mixed together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So how long were you in that business of importing foods, wholesale food business?
That really ended in '97. Um, we we took several serious hits. My partner, uh, one of his contacts, selling goods to Camp Pendleton Marine Base up here. Well, I got a container of pineapple, canned pineapple, cheap,
Right.
cheap, good. We'll get it to you, and here's a good price. And I ended up having to dump uh, about half a container of pineapple because it was so old that it was leaking. And when the Russian sanitary guys came and said, "What you?" I was completely shocked.
Yeah.
That's not the way I worked. I mean, we did
Right.
stuff fresh from the factory. You want Russian labels, we're going to do Russian labels. None of this Arabic stuff. No 7-year-old chicken.
Yeah.
We're going to treat you the way we want to be treated. And we're building a reputation here. And the guys provide me this stuff. And so it's like, I learned a bit about business on this end, which is,
Right.
so I lost a chunk of, uh, that was money out down the drain, and meanwhile I'm paying staff.
Right. Yeah.
And big money maker though was canned meat, and we took it in the neck when the wife of the governor Nostratenko,
Right.
she had a relationship with somebody in the Pacific Navy who had come to have the keys to storage of non-perishable supplies like canned meat, and of course the classic Soviet canned beef. Everybody wanted that. Well,
Right.
great, and they came onto market at about half the commercial price, and they had a lot.
Yeah.
It never seemed to end, but we
Where
did.
did that come from?
Some storage is in the Russian Far East, somewhere in Vladivostok.
Oh, I see. So what he did is he privatized some of the Navy storage food reserves
Well,
and sold it at the half price.
it wasn't the governor; it was his wife,
Right.
and they split the money, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it was privatized, and there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
What they, but it was stupid. If anybody's listening, it was
Yeah.
stupid because look, you came on the market at half price,
Right.
and you didn't. At the time that we're getting killed, she is a guest in my house as part of a Sister Cities delegation.
Uh-huh. Wow.
That didn't go over too well with my wife, I will tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get it. It's the NFL. Business is business. You have this opportunity, and I understand you don't care about us, but you left so much money on the table by
Yeah.
being stupid. I mean, it's not even
Right.
greedy. It was just being dumb.
Right.
And they killed the market.
Yeah.
And we weren't the only ones that I mean, and we're paying taxes.
Yeah.
Our Russian competitors would pay taxes when they felt like it,
Yeah.
or had some sort of arrangement. But anybody in the international side, there were a number of our competitors operating out of Vostochny that tried to play the Russian game, and as a group, they were contacted and told they were no longer welcome. They could leave now.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Huh.
So we paid taxes.
Yeah.
The road tax was based on revenue.
Yeah.
A percentage. So we were running a self-liquidating company.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I figured that these things would change, and ultimately they did. But we couldn't play by the Russian rules. And we were held to a different standard,
Uh-huh.
which was okay. But the canned meat thing was devastating because the it it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, it just killed us capital wise, and it was months and months and months and months that we couldn't move anything.
Right. Right.
And we're paying staff, we're paying warehousing. We've got we tried to find things to bring out. Uh, Honey was a big opportunity, but we couldn't find anybody that could do um, adequate packaging. Everything came
Uh-huh.
out in cans, and the processing was low enough grade that after a few months the cans would start to swell, which is
Yeah.
not okay.
Yeah. No.
But now it's I saw a picture of a couple weeks ago, somebody's Instagram. They were just in Arsenyev and at a shop, and there are all these different kinds of honey, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways. So
Yeah.
after
So it's timing. Right.
timing. So my attention turned. I ultimately joined up with my old British pal from Siberian capital. He had gone to Moscow.
What's his name?
Steve Tupper.
Okay. Okay.
And he had worked at the European TACIS program, TACIS. But
Right.
he knew both sides of a lot of fences, and got back into investment banking. And I joined a group that he was a part of. Uh, oh, suddenly my brain has gone flat. Voy Financial Vidom, second financial house, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a Russian British investment bank out of Moscow, and that was another great. That was 1997. It was a raging bull market in Moscow, and
Right.
the GKO scam was ramping up. And
Right.
but by that time, Russian industry was beginning to sort itself out, and so I ran North American operations and outreach for this group.
So you moved back from Vladivostok to San Diego?
Yeah, I mean, when my focus in being in Vlad changed when our son was born there.
Uh-huh.
Mine was the second marriage recorded. between Russian and American, and our son was the first
Wow.
registered birth to a Russian American couple,
Yeah.
registered at the consulate. But when he was born, we uh, spent the family focus was here, and
In San Diego.
yeah, and that's where the telecoms became, and I was doing important. I was up late at night here in real time with the guys in Vlad, etc.
Yeah.
And my trips became rarer uh, and more commercially driven because it's just trying to control expenses and all.
Right.
So
Right. So in '97, when you had this big hit on the meat, did you close the business?
yeah, ultimately yes. Yeah, I mean it just kind of I closed things in the Russian Far East.
Yeah.
Laid everybody off, and it was uh, the bitter. It finished with a whimper, you know. I mean, it wasn't even like pink slips at Monday morning. You know, it was
Right.
just well, everybody knew. You know, I mean, people began to scatter away and just running lower and lower, and we couldn't.
How many staff did you have at your peak?
4.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a big company, but it was
Yeah.
it was 4 full time, and it was a network kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And then you went to work for these guys
yeah,
trying to find capital investment
yeah,
in North America.
yeah, and by that time, people had begun to figure out here that there were opportunities, and
Yeah.
that we were focusing on what our clients in Russia needed, and they needed partners in the same business abroad.
Okay.
They needed investment, but they
Yeah.
also understood that they needed to have partners to build marketing relationships. Uh, you one of the projects that comes to mind was Carbon Black, for example.
Really? Who did you work with on Carbon Black?
It was a group out of Omsk. There's a mega refinery in Omsk,
Yeah.
and
So
they
I know a little bit about Carbon Black. There were
cool.
4 factories that made Carbon Black. One of them was in Yaroslavl, Yartek Ugla Road. And I did some work for them regarding an American who cheated them out of final payment. So, and I then later became friends with a Russian who owned the tire factory, because the tire factory and the Carbon Black were linked.
Yeah.
So I know that Cabot, the U.S. corporation, was interested in Carbon Black in Russia, ultimately didn't pull the trigger as far as I know, and looked at all of these, probably Omsk as well. Did you run across them?
I did talk with Cabot. Didn't get any meaningful response. The traction I got was from the Canadians, TransCanada. They were particularly interested in Carbon Black based off of natural gas.
Yeah.
And indeed, there's a big Krasnoyarsk has got a big tire operation. They were actually one of the founding shareholders of Siberian Capital Investment.
Wow.
But then at the end of 1997, the markets, the Asian financial crisis arrived in Russia, but it may have been invented in Russia first. When 30-year treasuries got to 6.2%, I remember having this conversation with Steve Tupper. It's like, I don't know, what investment can you think of U.S. Treasuries are paying 6.2, and all you have to do is sit.
Yeah, right.
So risk-free.
Yeah,
If you get leverage on 6.2,
yeah,
you have a good business.
yeah, without a risk of doing anything. Yeah,
And so at this point, Moscow had overheated, and then the GKO thing blew up, and
right.
Moscow, and that was the end of my. That was the end of the business stuff in
That was the
Russia.
end of the business stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the 1998 financial crisis blew you out of Russia.
I was left owed a lot of money,
Yeah,
and I saw what happened. Uh, and my interest was, I like investment banking, old school stuff. You
yeah,
connect money with ideas and people. No use
yeah.
for me anymore.
Right.
But I watched the West, the U.S., and we had developed some curious contacts out of the U.S. Treasury who were helping former Soviet and former Russian bigwigs stay out of trouble, to help them manage their privatized piles.
Yeah,
So I began to get a understanding that there was more going on that met the eye. And when the U.S. and the IMF shoveled in, I think it was $4 billion, small money in today's framework.
right.
At the time, it was quite a bit. Helped the Russians in the August crisis, and the money went out the door. I mean, instantly. It
Yeah,
left. It left. It was privatized, and it was just, well, I'm trying not to use four-letter words in this
right.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I was just completely outraged, and for a
And
year.
so do you think they knew that when putting that money in, that they were actually supporting certain people within the Russian economic or political structure?
They there may have been some people. I think the level of naivete here
Yeah,
was boundless.
yeah,
Uh, um, I was in a line to get a change my Aeroflot ticket. Okay, and when I go to, I'm living in Vladivostok, and I go to the Aeroflot office, and I live like everybody else.
yeah.
And if you wear a suit and tie, well, you're an idiot.
Uh-huh,
I
uh-huh.
mean,
You're a target.
you're a target too, and it's just like uh, it just was inappropriate. Okay,
Yeah,
but the guy in front of me is a Westerner. He's American. He's consultant, and he's got his interpreter with him, and he's going on and on and on about what an awful place this is, how nobody knows anything, uh, and that he was such a fool to be taking these contracts with the U.S., with these aid agencies, and I just stood there and listened to him. I never spoke a word with him and never let on that I was an American, but I stood there behind him in the line and in shock
yeah,
and disgust, because I mean, he had no business being there. He was wasting everybody's money and time.
yeah,
And here I was, I'm trying to, people that we had on staff were, they saw the hope too. I mean, it was about hope.
yeah,
It was
uh-huh.
about
Right,
building the future.
right.
Uh, we had long gotten past the point, where it's going to, be some sort of lucky shock. just to come back to the San Diego Vladivostok thing for a moment, it became a commercial thing. People's involvement, people's attraction to the opening of Russia uh, became a business opportunity, a get-rich opportunity. At least that was the narrative that people
Right.
told themselves. And when that faded rather quickly, people's interest faded just as quickly.
Uh-huh.
And the numbers of people within the San Diego Vladivostok program faded. I'm past president there, got 7 years. I'm typecast here in San Diego as with sister cities and with the Russia connection with Vladivostok. It was there were a limited number of people who really stuck around, who were in it for the long
Right.
haul.
Right.
And I think that from the business standpoint, uh, from the aid programs, we didn't put enough money in. Uh, it should have been 10 times as much, with the understanding that half of it would get lost
Right.
or
Yeah.
stolen.
Yeah.
Uh, but I learned a ton. Our
So just back to the San Diego Sister City. Is it still exist?
It still exists.
Does
Yep.
it hold meetings or events or?
Um, Meetings. It is now a shadow of itself. It's a small group, and then actually, we're looking at holding a 30th anniversary gathering in September,
Yeah.
along with our partners in Vlad, who are far more organized now.
Yeah.
This is a warning. I'm telling you, this is a warning. We are in big doo doo here. We're 20 years. 20 years have passed
Yeah.
since the last time Americans checked in abroad, and
Yeah.
we're slow. We're slow. We're slow, and the Russians survived, and they have their own problems, and there are buckets of them.
Right.
They are uh, clicking. It's fresh. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that. Um, Coming back to the business part,
Yeah.
I was in the food business
Yeah.
and thought that representing the American tradition of a big food supplier,
Right.
our Russian customers had ruthless tastes. We want natural products. And that predated the move to here in the United States to natural products. And
Right.
what we came to sell in Russia was food chemistry. And the
Yeah.
Russians wanted none of it. They,
Uh-huh.
they were like, no, I mean, we have no money, so we'll kind of struggle along with this. But what they wanted was very simple list of ingredients. They wanted less was more, no chemicals.
Right. Right.
Uh, so I learned a lot uh, about how to listen to customers, uh, how that running a business was so much more involved than making money.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 And that lesson, how does that get conveyed to anybody? Um, or is that, I'm just curious about that, how you feel about that. So, um, this is not I mean, my book is not going to be a Harvard Business School case or something in which there are lessons drawn from it or something. But in some aspects of what you're saying here, this is a learning, teaching, experience. Uh, anyway, I don't know where to go with that
Yeah,
question. I'm sure.
uh,
But I think let me go back to the other thing, which is which is what I want to explore with you a little bit more is, okay, so in the Soviet times, Americans are incredibly curious about the Soviet Union. And these space bridges, including ones with Vladimir Posner and Phil Donahue, there was one with Peter Jennings and members of the Congress and the members of the Supreme Soviet. I mean, incredible amount of public interest in each other. And this move, which later sort of led to this business, also had a public interest driver from it. And now, with hugely improved means of communication, there's virtually no interest, at least among Americans, in what life is like in Russia or what Russians think. I think that that's just amazing to me. The more I see the level of enthusiasm and drive from ordinary people in this earlier period, and I don't know what to make of it. I just know that I see it, and I don't know if you've thought about that at all.
Yeah, I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
We're a Navy town still. Third Fleet's based here, and I have friends, flag officers, retired, and still very much in the game. But also in the public. It was up until 2 years ago. San Diego Vladivostok was very active in the open world, hosting open world delegations. I've personally organized and executed 15 delegations.
Wow.
And we've got a lot to offer here in San Diego, and people are excited and interested to a point. It's like their lives are so dense or preoccupied. They enjoy the something new, something exotic, and oh yeah. And then after the meetings are over, delegation's gone, after a week, it goes back to the way it was, just seals back up again. There's a deadening. And I do have done public presentations, universities, and programs here. I'm past president of the World Affairs Council here in San Diego. Turn the program around here. And while Russia remains, it has morphed into a Cold War narrative that older people, our generation and older, are comfortable.
Yeah.
Which is super sad. The part that disturbs me and annoys me is at say within the leadership in the Navy, they'll come around and make their presentations, and when it comes to Russia, they don't have a clue of what they're talking about. And they're trading on their stars, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
Right.
And if you are commanding young men and women in the field, one of the oldest rules of the game is know your opponent and know yourself.
Yeah.
And this closed the minds here have closed, and we'd have to start fresh on this one.
Yeah. Okay.
To burn, but it is a super important one because we're
right.
We're headed into some so dangerous waters now. All of us are.
Right.
the Russians, I mean, the Putin and his guys, they're killing the commercial culture in Russia. If they don't get property rights figured out, that's going to be where the explosion comes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, but I want to go back a little bit to this. So so now talking to you, I know there is a San Diego Vladivostok Sister City that's in existence, much reduced activity, but still in existence. I know that Burlington, Vermont and Yaroslavl Sister City exists, actually fairly active exchange between the two cities. I know in Minneapolis, there's a Russian Business and Cultural Association, and they have been putting on webinars during this pandemic. And I don't know if there are others. So there are, there are individual places which don't know each other, right? There's no sense that, I mean, you didn't know that people in Minneapolis, for instance.
Correct.
And the fact is that someone in Minneapolis could put on a webinar with someone from Siberia, which they did, or a program on the German Volga, Germans in the Volga region. And that could be done nationally because we're talking about Zoom. Yeah. And you could be doing a program that was up nationally. But if that network gets rebuilt, there's at least some information exchange channels. And I'm not, this is separate from the book. This is because I was president of the U.S.-Russia Chamber of Commerce of New England for many years, 20. And we are defunct. We're out of business because there's no business to support it. So we're officially disbanded. But that doesn't mean that I don't still have that interest. So at some point, aside from the book, I may want to try to make people aware of each other to see if there's any synergies that can, rebuild some channels of communication and exchange that we can all feel genuine because they're arising, not out of the media, but not out of the Russia experts who all have a bone to pick or chew or promote. So anyway, do you know of other active sister city organizations?
Yeah, the group in Portland Habarovsk, they've got a good group there, and they're much more active than San Diego. We share some people connections in that San Diego and Portland. So they're well focused on, and water issues are a central theme for them. That the environment and water, they've been able to find something to work with. I tried to do the same here using science, ocean sciences. We didn't get traction. At Scripps Institution of Oceanography and others, people will talk, but the empire building, money.
Yeah.
Who's bringing the money? And, there is still interest that can be networked. Little resources would help. Hope is my Russian guys. Hope dies last. So
yes, I know that. Right. But what is it in Russian? Надежда умирает последняя. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
My Russian is corroded. But hey, I am. It's a weird thing. I have this expertise Dan, and it's not worth a damn here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And that's really, you know, is the world a better place? You know, I remember the 1990, 1992, 93, 92, 93 is when it became a nightmare for the Russians.
Yeah.
And there's no awareness here of what that was.
Yeah.
And I have tried to keep people updated on, and this is even to the highest levels, keep people updated on what is happening structurally, in Russia, where Russia is going, what Russians are doing,
Uh-huh.
what's working, what's not working. Uh, you know, from an analytical point of view, like I'm walking into a room of a dozen investment bankers, and we have to be focused, and bullshit doesn't cut it.
Right.
You can do it once and you never
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just calling it as I see it, and I'm looking to learn every day that I get up.
Uh-huh.
And right, the last couple years, people aren't listening. They've got it all figured out. That they've
Right.
bought into a narrative, and these narratives, this is where the whole world is going, and this is part of why I'm stepping back. Is, you know, where this is going to take us in a few years, and you know,
Yeah.
how do I position my family and myself in a world that um, peace is adrift in a big
Uh-huh.
way,
Yeah.
a big way.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so it's been a pleasure to know about you and the work that you've stepped into here. I think it's great that you are writing this book on this topic.
right. Right.
Uh, and if there's anything I can do to help you out,
I appreciate it. I mean, look, you're a combination of practical business person as well as a thoughtful and analytic person. So I've enjoyed the conversation.